The hosts feel it would be a little unkind to present this podcast without just a word of friendly warning. We are about to unfold the story of Frankenstein, a man of science who sought to create a man after his own image without reckoning upon God. It is one of the strangest tales ever told. It deals with the two great mysteries of creation, life and death. I think it will thrill you. It may shock you. It might even horrify you. So if any of you feel that you do not care to subject your nerves to such a strain, now's your chance to. Well, we've warned you.
Hello and welcome once again to the Frankencast. I'm the mad scientist Anthony Bowman. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm joined as always by...
the guy with the white hair who looks like he's going to be really important and is only moderately important. That is Eric Velasquez. My pronouns are also he, him.
So, as we mentioned last week, we are talking about Van Helsing, the 2004 Hugh Jackman vehicle. Right before we started, I was like, wait, when did this come out in the context of the Mummy movies? Because it feels very much like this happened because of the Mummy movies. And sure enough, I think the first two had happened, and then the third one came out after this. So right in sort of like the sweet spot where like the Mummy movies were blowing up, and they were like, maybe we could, and every now and then Universal's like, let's try this again, and it just never works.
No, they kind of tried with this one. Now, also, this one was right after League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and you could tell they took a lot of cues from that.
Yeah,
even though I don't
definitely.
think that's a Universal property.
Yeah, and I mean, this movie is goofy and weird, but I enjoy it quite a bit. It definitely it wasn't successful in terms of like building a new, pre-Dark Universe thing, but yeah, it's got some fun stuff in it.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting at least, and you have a little fun with it.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get this party started. So we open up on a black and white Universal logo. Hey, it's been a while since we've had that.
Yeah, and then the logo just like bursts into flames right. And then turns into a torch being carried by an angry villager. So that's pretty cool. We're starting off, this is familiar territory.
Yep, Transylvania, 1887. Okay, we got a place, we got a date. Awesome.
Yeah, and so the angry mob they've got a big battering ram. They're trying to break the door down to this, big Gothic castle. There's lightning strikes, we know what's up.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And it's quick. Like, they don't waste any time. We immediately see, like, the creature on a slab waking up, like, within a minute or two of the movie starting. Mm-hmm. You see, like, their eyes open, hand moving, Victor Frankenstein yelling, "It's alive."
Of course.
So super intense right away. And then our familiar scene gets interrupted.
Hey, who let Dracula get in my Frankenstein movie?
yeah. So we're right away into like a Monster Rally movie. Count Dracula appears, and it turns out that in this version, he's the sort of like secret benefactor for Victor's experiments. He has equipped Victor with this lab and this castle and, all the equipment inside, specifically because he wants this creature.
Yeah.
And Victor's like, wait, I thought you were just, you believed in science and you were just, a patron of this work I'm doing. And Dracula's like, no, I want that thing. Like, right. This is not a charity. I gave you money, you made that thing, and I'm taking it now.
Right. He wants it, I believe, because one, it represents the triumph of science over God. So we already know he has a bone to pick with the man upstairs. And two, he wants to do generic evil with it.
Yeah, I think he even kind of he whisper. No, it cuts away and we see the mob kind of trying to break into the building again, and then we cut back and it is Dracula has told Victor his plan, but we never hear it.
And he wants nothing to do with that.
Yeah, Victor's like, no, absolutely not. Victor's like, help, Igor, we got to stop him. And Igor comes out and he's like, dude, you're a good boss and everything, but this kind of pays me. Like, I'm on his side.
I'm not doing this for exposure. I'm getting paid, baby. By the way, so, low-key, is it weird to say this is the most accurate Igor?
I was going to Yeah, it's weird because it is. I mean, it's the Hunchback assistant. It's the Fritz kind of Carl character that we've got in the early movies, but his personality is very much the Igor, the Bela Lugosi Igor from, you know, the later movies. It's kind of like a perfect mashup of like everything we want out of this character.
Yeah, he likes to torture his experiments / anyone beneath him. So we've got that's the Fritz, I believe, and Hunchback assistant Carl.
But he's got like this kind of like scheming, conniving way about him, and he's definitely just gonna like, you know, he's gonna be loyal to whoever is gonna get him the furthest in that specific moment, and then his, you know, loyalty does not stick around for him.
No, not in the least.
And he even kind of sounds like Bela Lugosi, like the accent that he's doing. Yeah, it's an interesting portrayal. I really like the Igor character in this.
By the way, we really haven't called it out yet, but there's a lot of, at least, if not big names, a lot of, hey, it's that guy. And this would be Kevin J. O'Connor, who's that guy. Also, Kevin J. O'Connor's Benny Gabor from The Mummy, as we mentioned earlier.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, and for the longest time, I thought he was also the main villain of Hellboy, The Golden Army. But no, that's a totally different guy. They just have a very similar look when they're in totally white face paint, I guess.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So Victor tries to, like, he pulls a sword off the wall, you know, like decorative Gothic swords, and like swinging at Dracula, like, get back, you know, I'm still in control here. Right. And Dracula does a badass move and just like impales himself and just walks forward along the sword as it's going through him and is like, you can't kill me, I'm already dead.
Right. Well, he also kind of impales Frankenstein with the blunt end of the sword.
Yeah. And then he, like, when he gets like right up on Victor, his mouth gets all like monstrous and stretched out, and he grows like, you know, more than just like the two fangs. And just like, you know, latches on to Victor, and then we get like silhouette of him, like, you know, killing Victor.
Right.
This movie does a lot of cool shit with silhouette, where it's like, I feel like they didn't quite have enough CGI budget to show it on the screen, and they were like, rather than make it look bad, let's like just do it in silhouette and make it look good. And it
but you
works.
can tell they did not have a strong CGI budget.
Oh, definitely not.
There are a lot of places where it's just rough, even for the time. It's like going back to The Mummy, as we keep doing in this instance. Like, The Mummy was in 99, okay? That would be 5 years before this movie. Even in that time, there were significant leaps in CGI, and The Mummy had better CGI than this movie.
Oh, definitely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The creature breaks free, starts throwing stuff around, and we didn't really mention, but the science gear in this scene is some of the best we've seen in a little while.
True.
It's
we don't just have dynamo. We don't have just wheels. We have cylinders. And
these big ton of spinning, like raising up and down things. There's a lot of moving stuff, which I'm starting to realize. You know, I mean, we always go on about the spinning science wheels, but I think that's the thing is like, if the lab looks stagnant, that like it's not exciting. But when you just got shit moving, it just it feels really cool. And this movie like gives you that in spades.
Yeah, absolutely. The labs are actually some of the high points of the movie.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. While the creatures are throwing stuff around, he ends up throwing Dracula into the fire.
He hits him with a transformer.
Yeah, and it looks pretty cool too. Like, and it's a giant fireplace, you know. And he picks up Victor's body and heads out. And like the mob kind of, you know, sees the monster, and they follow him, and he's headed to. Yeah, of course. And you know, as he does, he heads to the windmill.
I do like the chase scene because you do see the monster carrying Victor, and you have, or Dr. Frankenstein, I'm sorry, they don't officially call him Victor in this movie, I don't think. And the villagers are like not that far behind. They are literally just like, within 30, 40 yards?
Yeah.
And that shot's just really fun.
Yeah, the windmill on the hill and everything, like, yeah, it looks really good. They all kind of start, they're following, and then we cut back to the lab, and Dracula just walks out of the fire.
He just reconstitutes, his hair is perfect, everything's fine.
And then again in silhouette, we see him transform into this large, like, bat demon kind of shape, you know, big wings and everything.
I mean, he goes full Castlevania. He does a good Marshall.
So back at the windmill, the creature, is going up the stairs, headed toward, the top, like he does, and the villagers start throwing their torches.
Yeah, everything explosive and
yeah. So of course this is a wooden, matchstick windmill, and it immediately is just like fully engulfed in flames.
And of course the monster gets to the top. He's only been alive for what, maybe 20, 30 minutes at this point?
Yeah.
So, like, logically, as the whole windmill's burning down, he's just standing on top of it with Frankenstein's body, and he's like, why?
Yeah. Yeah. And so, which is, it's kind of a nice, slightly different origin story here, where, like, Victor didn't abandon the creature, no. Victor died, like Dracula killed Victor, so now the creature is abandoned and alone and, tortured by all these villagers. But obviously we're talking about this movie, we know that the creature's going to be, living beyond this scene, but he's going to have been abandoned by his creator in a different way than usual, which kind of gives him a slightly different, backstory.
Yeah, I guess with this creature, like, he knows that his father may or may not, well, apparently loved him because he didn't want to use him for evil, and didn't abandon him just because he was gross looking and awful.
Yeah.
So that'll affect your personality, I imagine, if it's like your parents have rejected you versus, oh, they just died. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a comment to be said there. But of course, not only is the monster mad, once everything collapses, the brides, presumably of Dracula, arrive. They fly in, and they're wailing in anguish as well. This hurts them too.
Yeah. So it's a pretty great scene. You've got like the creature collapsing through the floor as the windmill burns up completely, and you've got Dracula. He's like a black bat, and then you've got like 3 white bats that are the brides that are all swooping around, like screaming in frustration and agony.
Right.
So it's pretty intense.
Yeah. Of course, gears go flying as well because windmill and exploding. But then we get a title card a card that says 1 year later.
And we're in Paris now.
It's like a wanted poster for Van Helsing.
Yeah, and like even the poster, like he's like masked on the poster, and we see a guy pull the poster down that quickly, like you're like, oh, that's the same guy that's on the poster. And
exactly, it's Hugh Jackman as I almost said Wolverine as Van Helsing.
He, kind of continues on his way, and then he sees like a dead woman laying on the ground, and goes to kind of investigate, and he picks up something. It's like this little thing that's on fire, and at first I thought it was like sage or something, like a little bundle of sage that had been burned. But we'll soon. Yeah, it's kind of what it looked like, but we'll quickly realize that it's a cigar.
It's a hell of a cigar.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a big sage bundle, so it's a big ass cigar.
Yeah, we then get evil laughter coming from presumably Notre Dame.
And we'll see a large creature that, where the laughter is coming from, kind of scaling the outside of the building. So obviously, Van Helsing, dead woman, giant monster. We know where this is going. He heads inside, and this monster is huge. It is quite a bit bigger than Van Helsing.
Yeah, it turns out we know this guy's name, though. He's very familiar in roundabout ways. Turns out this is Hyde.
Yeah,
Dr. Jekyll's protege.
He's very like kind of gleefully evil. I mean, obviously that's the whole thing with the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing. They're kind of having like verbal sparring. They're sort of joking around a little bit with each other as they're kind of it's one-liners, action movie kind of stuff. Right. But he's pretty proud of his crimes. Yeah, well, and also going back to the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, he has a very ape thing going on. So he's like swinging around from the rafters. And his feet, I believe, are even prehensile. Basically, he has hands for feet. Yeah. Van Helsing is like, so I've been sent to capture Dr. Jekyll, and there will be research and all this. I don't want to kill you. Hyde is like, yeah, that's, you're not going to capture or kill me. That's not happening. Hyde's like, nope, not going to happen, buddy. You're going to try, though. And, of course, we learn that the people who sent them are the, just the most definite, like, this is the most specific name, and I'm being sarcastic about this, the Holy Order of Knights.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Which
like
ones?
it feels like they're supposed to be like the Knights Templar, but it's
Right.
like just so generic. Yeah.
Were they afraid to use that word? Was that ever like an actual issue? I know there's a lot of conspiracy theory going around Knights Templar, but was it ever like, no, we don't say that word?
Yeah, not that I know of, but yeah, I don't know.
Oh, it's weird. It's weird that they didn't go for Knights Templar, or even just to be like really weird, Knights Hospitaller. You know,
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
or even Order of the Dragon or something like that. That would have been fun.
Yeah, so they get into their fight. Van Helsing has guns at first, and then he ends up pulling out these like saw blade things that connect to his hands.
Which I appreciate that they actually bring that back later in the movie a couple times.
Yeah, that seems to be kind of his preferred weapon almost.
Aside from his 6-shooters, but
Yeah. Ultimately, like Hyde ends up like up in the rafters. He crashes into a bell, and kind of does like the Hunchback of Notre Dame, like the bell.
Yeah, and then he uses that as a weapon.
Yeah, he traps Van Helsing under it, which is pretty cool, and then he hears some like saw sounds,
Right.
and lifts up the bell, and there's a hole in the floor, and he's like, ah, shit, he got out.
Surprise! He didn't get out. He was hiding in the bell.
Yeah, it was like a double bluff kind of thing.
And he ends up cutting Hyde's arm off in this case.
Yeah, this, obviously action scene, it's pretty fast, lots of stuff's going on, but
yeah.
like Van Helsing gets thrown, fires a grappling hook that goes through Hyde and then like catches, and then there's like a lot of like acrobatic swinging where like Van Helsing's swinging around the building and like pulling Hyde, and then Hyde falls off and that pulls Van Helsing back.
So Van Helsing tries to pull him off the roof, and then Hyde is like, no, and swings him up. And that's when a bunch of shenanigans happens, things fall, they end up like almost like a trapeze artist spinning in the air.
Yeah, it's like all this kind of fulcrum-y stuff where like they're using each other's weight to like throw things or spin each other around.
Right. And most of it's on accident.
Yeah, but the end result is that Hyde gets thrown through like a big stained glass window and falls to his death, where he turns back into Dr. Jekyll.
Right. And of course, a whole bunch of townspeople, Parisians apparently, find a dead body of a normal person, and one in particular inspector looks up and sees the silhouette of Van Helsing and just goes, "Murder!"
Yeah. So now, that clearly if Van Helsing is a monster hunter and he's killing the kind of monsters that turn back into humans after they die, like werewolves as well and stuff, like obviously the average person who doesn't believe in monsters is going to view him as, a murderer and not as a hero.
Right. And to be fair, there's a lot of conflict about this, but it really doesn't go anywhere. I mean, it kind of goes somewhere, but not really.
Yeah. So then we get another title card. We're in Vatican City, Rome, and Van Helsing has gone into this church to confess. He's talking to this priest, and pretty quickly we realize that, like, this isn't just a normal confession. Like, the priest is, like, he's sort of debriefing him on everything that went down. And he's like, I can't believe he broke that window. That was a big deal.
Well, he hopes he has a week in hell for that. He condemns him to a week in hell.
Yeah, and then they kind of like open this secret door, and they end up like going down together into, the base of their, order.
Right, and we learned at this point, even though the Vatican has dispatched him to do their dirty work, they're really not providing him any support or good PR. They're just like, yeah, we're not getting involved, man. I mean, we're paying you, we're giving you equipment, you're doing your thing, but we don't want people to know we're involved. Very Vatican-y stuff.
Oh, yeah. And we get a little bit of his backstory that he was found dying on some church steps, and he doesn't know where he came from before that. Like, he's kind of got amnesia.
He's got amnesia, the classic trope.
Yeah. So his next mission is that they're going to send him to Romania. They need him to fight Dracula.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And so they kind of have this whole story that there was like back in like the Vlad Dracul days. I think his name's slightly different in this for some reason, but
right, they call him just Vladislaus Dracula, which is like, what? No, just Vlad Tepes.
Yeah. But there was a knight named Valerius who dedicated his family to defeating Dracula and swore that nobody in his like bloodline would enter the gates of heaven until Dracula was defeated.
That seems a little short-sighted to me.
Yeah.
You're condemning your entire family line to purgatory just to take out one guy.
And it turns out that it was definitely short-sighted, because 9 generations later, there's only like two people left in the family line, and if they don't survive, then the whole family is going to be doomed forever.
Right, and that's kind of the mission, is make sure that these 2 people don't die so that they can actually make it to heaven. Yay! All right, fair enough, I guess. Also, can we talk about the badly photoshopped Rick's Rockberg face onto the image of Vlad Tepes?
Oh yeah, to make him the old school painting of early days Dracula. Yeah,
and it's like you can actually see the outline of the face where they just cut it and pasted it.
Yeah, especially for 2004, you probably could have gone to somethingawful.com and hired a kid in college to do a better job of it.
Right? How do you think they just were like, "Hey intern, we need you to just cut this face and paste it onto the body"? I want to know the history behind this. I hope someone didn't legitimately go to school for graphic design and do this.
Yeah, sure. It's got to be something where they're like, "Oh shit, we need that! Somebody, hurry, run! We're getting ready to shoot."
Mm-hmm. Or better yet, just use a picture of Vlad Tepes.
Yeah, that would have been fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the whole plan. And the priest shows Van Helsing this scroll, this tiny scrap of parchment that has some kind of ancient writing on it, and also has a little symbol on it that happens to match the mysterious ring that Van Helsing just had on him when he was found.
The reveal about that later on is kind of lame. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the parchment does say, they've translated it means "in the name of God, open this door," whatever that means.
Yeah. And so they're like, okay, obviously Van Helsing is just kind of dispatched wherever, but now he's a little bit more intrigued because he, wants to recover his lost memories. So he's like, okay, there must be a tie here. Mm-hmm. They set him up with, I think his name, is it Carl?
It's Carl. He's Q. He's Q, but his name is Carl.
Yeah, I wrote the same thing. He is straight up just Q from James Bond. He's showing him gadgets that he's working on.
Well, he's basically the quartermaster, right? He loads them up with garlic, holy water, silver stakes that pop out, which, that's cool, I guess, for the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And just general crucifixes. Okay. We've got the regular vampire hunting kit. The only thing he's missing are the holy ashes, axe, and knife. Okay.
And then the special things he's got are a crossbow that fires it has a machine gun kind of thing on it, and it fires a bunch of bolts, and this weird bomb that he's not really sure what it's for, but when it explodes, a bunch of sunlight comes out.
I mean, we know what it's for. Literally, they're vampires. This thing has the power of the sun. Also, for some reason, just a second ago, he was dealing with nitroglycerin and just threw a vial of that and it just exploded. We'll never, ever see the nitroglycerin again, I don't think.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah, so, he's like, here's all your gadgets, good luck. And then we find out that he has to go with them. He's been recruited to go with Van Helsing, and he's like, no. I stay in the lab and build gadgets. I don't go in the field.
Today you do.
In this case, sorry about your luck. You got to go with him.
Yeah, funny story. Carl here just came off of playing Faramir, Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
And also, he's Dilios from 300 as well.
Yeah, he was definitely one of the people that looked the most familiar to me, other than the big stars.
Yep, David Wenham for you.
And so then we cut to Transylvania, and we've got this kind of weird situation going on. There's a man who's tied to a stake, and then we see that a werewolf is approaching, and it's like, oh shit, this guy is toast. Mm-hmm. But then it turns out it's this really elaborate trap where he gets kind of flipped up in the air, and the werewolf goes after him.
Well, it turns out that apparently being a Romani prince, Velkin is the guy's name. Apparently, just being Romani makes you automatically an acrobat, as we'll find out with his sister Anna.
Yeah, this whole it's another thing where it's just an action scene where lots of shit happens really quickly, but the werewolf falls down into a pit that then snaps and becomes a cage around him, and then the cage gets lifted up into the tree. And then Velkin is too close to the cage and is afraid he's gonna get bitten. Mm-hmm. And he's the one that's got the gun with silver bullets, and then he drops it, and it's a lot of chaos.
And honestly, when the cage snaps up, it almost hits Anna and kills her immediately. But she literally does a backflip out of the way to save herself.
Yeah. In the process, like, the wolf ends up escaping from the cage, starts chasing Anna, and...
Anna decides she's going to do the Trimmers maneuver and runs right towards the cliff.
Yeah. But in this case, Velkin follows after them and starts firing with his, silver bullets at the werewolf.
Well, unfortunately, he didn't fire in time because the werewolf clips him and they both go careening off the edge of that cliff.
Mm-hmm. And so at this point, this is, Velkin and Anna, they're the two. They're the surviving Valerius family members, and now we're down to just Anna.
Yeah. And it seems like she's got a bit of a death wish anyway. She gets herself into these dangerous situations and doesn't really have any outs. She's just like, well, here I am.
Yeah, it seems wild, like, if your whole family line is dedicated to killing Dracula, why are you out trapping werewolves? Like, this is an unnecessary risk.
Right.
Like, focus on Dracula.
Also, just as another side note, why doesn't the whole family have like 1 billion kids? It's like, you don't get to go out into the field unless you've already had 5 kids. Then you go.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
So I think then we cut to, it's like later that day or the next day, Van Helsing and Carl arrive in Transylvania.
Yeah, because Lord of the Rings, they had to do the whole traveling segment where they're, for some reason, riding their horses on the back of a mountain.
Yeah, we do get a little, some of that. And then, they get into this, like, small village, and everyone is very, like, suspicious of them right away. Like, they're not kindly townspeople at all.
You ain't from around here, are you? Something like that, right?
Yeah, but then Anna comes out. She also is not really, like, into this. She's very suspicious. She wants more information from them. Yeah. She tries to take their weapons away, and Van Helsing's like, nah, that's not happening. We're here to help. Like, I'm not giving up the weapons. You need my assistance. And Anna's like, no, we don't. And he's like, are you sure about that? Mm-hmm. And then suddenly the vampire brides show up, and they're all swooping down and swiping at villagers. And Van Helsing is firing his machine gun crossbow at them. Not
doing much damage, though.
No, his aim is terrible. I guess that's kind of the thing with machine guns in real life, too, is they're just kind of wild. But it's just like crossbow bolts stuck all over everything, but not really hitting the brides.
Right. And, of course, we get a few cases where a bride, gets near Anna. I think one almost gets onto Van Helsing as well.
Yeah, there's a bit where one, like, grabs Anna and flies up, and Van Helsing, like, jumps and pulls her down.
Right.
We've already had this tension between them that, like, she's like, you're not wanted here. And so when they fall, it's like she falls, like, straddling his face, basically.
Right. Yeah.
And, it's like, oh, okay, we know where this is going. Yeah. Like, there's going to be... this is basically a rom-com with vampires. Like,
right, there ain't no tension like sexual tension, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and of course, this is where we get the wonderful line, hey, hit him in the heart, that'll kill him. Or something to that effect.
Yeah.
It's like, everyone knows that. You didn't have to say that.
Right.
Yeah.
So then, eventually, like, the clouds kind of part, and the sun comes out, and so the brides fly away.
One of them flies into, or presumably, flies into a well, because we hear sounds coming from the well now that the sun's out. And
while things are calm for a minute, it's like Anna and Van Helsing just kind of like argue about like whether he's going to help or not. And he's like, you need to go inside to safety. I'll take care of this. And she's like, no, this is my place. You go away. We can take care of this. And then the clouds roll back in, and specifically the bride you were talking about in the well comes like launching out of the well.
Right. Yep. Guess what? Action's on again, folks.
Yeah. It's just, Van Helsing can't get a good shot. They're just flying around. This scene goes on a while, and at some point, Anna gets separated away. She's inside a building. I think she gets like smashed through a wall or something.
Right. Yeah, by one of the brides, and then one of the brides. Like, honestly, I really want to call their names, but I know one's called Mariska, and I guess one's called Alira, and the other one's Verona. But literally, I could not tell you a thing about the difference between any of them. Like, I could give you their descriptions, but I couldn't tell you their names and if they had any other personality besides Bride of Dracula.
Yeah, they're pretty generic, just like vampire brides.
Yeah, like literally they could have made, I guess they made 3 characters so that they would have a couple spares.
Yeah.
You know, just for fodder for Van Helsing, but yeah.
Yeah, and I think so. It starts and there's just one in there with Anna, and she goes into like human form, and is kind of just taunting Anna and stuff.
Yeah, that's Mariska. I know that one, and it's like she knows Anna, but maybe they weren't friends before Mariska became a vampire. Maybe they were friends. Maybe they were frenemies. Who knows? They seem familiar though.
Yeah, and it may just be that this vampire war has been going on so long that they kind of are aware of each other because of that.
Right, they're on first name basis as well, just because they hate each other.
Yeah. And eventually another one comes in there, and so there's just like kind of 2 in there taunting Anna, while Van Helsing is fighting the third one.
Yeah, and we do get a funny scene where Carl tries to give Van Helsing some holy water to help him in his fight, but the bride snatches it out of the air as it's tossed and basically just launches it.
Yeah.
She's like, nope.
We also, did you catch this? There's a bit where like the bride like smashes into Van Helsing and he goes flying, and then it shows him crash into 3 different things. Like,
yeah.
Like the editing is just like he hits something and stops, and then we suddenly just see him hit something else and stop, and then hit something else.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's supposed to imply like he's just getting beat up a lot, but with seeing 1 hit and then 3 results, it feels like they just made a bad decision there editing wise.
Yeah, basically the stunt, they just were like, oh, we filmed 3 different stunts or 3 different backdrops for 1 stunt and just use them all.
Yeah. So since he didn't get the holy water from Carl, he does end up, there's like a little fountain in front of the church that I guess is producing holy water or something, so he dips his crossbow in that.
Hey, it looks like that might do the job.
Yeah, it's actually starting to damage the bride that he's fighting. Then the other 2 are about to kill Anna when they suddenly feel that their sister is dying, and so they like screech and fly out.
So they go flying off in pain and agony, mourning their sister wife.
But they don't, like, it seems like they're going to fly out and, like, take revenge, but instead they just, like, fly away as she disintegrates into, like, the worst CGI. Yeah, the vampires dying aren't great. I think they save the best CGI for Dracula, as they should, but even then, that's not that great. Yeah.
Turns out the townspeople are ungrateful.
Yeah, they're, like, kind of pissed that he killed a bride, and Van Helsing's like, what are we supposed to do? And they're like, yeah, but they only come around occasionally. They kill just when they're starving. It's like 1 or 2 people max every now and then. It's not a big deal.
Right.
But now they're going to be pissed at us, and they're going to just come start killing for fun.
Which I'm like, I feel like you guys are just like, we lost Peter today. Well, that was sad,
Yeah.
Right? I feel like they're probably assist the vampire hunter, maybe. I don't know. But that's me. I'm not one of these villagers.
And then we meet, like, we've kind of seen this character a couple of times. He's sort of like the main villager / the grave digger or coffin maker or whatever, just like, that sort of character.
Well, he even asked him, what do you want me to carve on your tombstone?
Yeah, he sucks. Like,
he does.
But yeah, he's kind of like, we're going to kill you, and we don't want any part of what you've got going on here. Right. But then Anna pops up, and she's like, I'll tell you his name. It's Van Helsing. And everyone's like, oh, okay. That changes everything. Like, suddenly people are kind of paying attention.
Yeah. And hey, he's the first person to have killed a vampire in 100 years, so that deserves a drink, right?
Yeah. Then we cut away to Dracula waking up. He has sensed that one of his brides has died and is angry.
Out of his glass / ice coffin, whatever that is. Clear, see-through CGI.
And he's like, all right, I guess I'm going to have to make another bride. And the other 2 are like, just make another. Like, but she's gone. Like, you can't just replace her. Yeah, have you no heart?
Oh, boy. By the way, Richard Roxburgh, man, this dude chews up the scenery. Holy crap. Like, he just devours everything he's in. Like, he gives this big monologue about, of course I'm not. Of course I don't have a heart. I don't feel love. I have no fear, no joy or sorrow. I'm hollow. Like, he goes from, like, very dramatic to weirdly monotone, I guess, for lack of a better word. He's like, I'm hollow. Despite him doing all that emoting, he's hollow, Anthony.
Right.
And then, he's like, I wish I didn't live eternally. I wish I could die. And then one of the brides is like, well, it's not so bad to live forever. And of course, then he immediately smiles. So he's lying. He's just being dramatic for no reason, as is a good Dracula. I'm not going to lie about that. Being dramatic is a good Dracula.
Yeah, true. And we also, while this conversation is going on, we get the first glimpse of these, like, weird little dudes. Like, Dracula has this whole, like, army of minions, basically. Will eventually get what they're called. They're like dwargy, but they're just like these little creeps in like masks, and I don't know any other lore about these, like, outside of this movie.
I think the writer of this movie, or writer/director combo, played too much Ravenloft in D&D.
Okay.
Yeah, because these are like the Dwerger, the evil dwarves of fantasy and all that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And plus all
that
the cool
makes sense.
weapons and blah blah blah. Basically, what I'm saying is this movie was meant to be a Ravenloft movie, and they just didn't get the name.
Yeah, I'd believe it.
Right.
But so Dracula is like, we've got to stop this newcomer. He can't interrupt us now. The plans are almost complete. And the brides are like, but your last experiment failed. We can't go through that again. Like, it was terrible.
Yeah. And that's interesting. Whatever the last experiment was, it actually emotionally hurt the brides.
Mm-hmm. And then we also see that there is another werewolf. They've got, and again, this is all silhouette. They've got like this big werewolf behind a curtain, being prodded by Igor.
Right. His werewolf prod, not his cattle prod, but his werewolf prod.
Yeah. And there's even like, he's like, why do you torture that creature? And he's like, it's what I do.
Right. It's what I do.
Yeah, and so, the Dracula is like, well, me and the brides, we're going to go back to Castle Frankenstein. We've got to try again.
Oh, also, right after he says, it's what I do like that Dracula, like, sets him up for a line. He just goes, do unto others. And then Igor says, before they do unto me.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That just gives you Igor in a nutshell.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. So then we cut back to Van Helsing and Anna. They're talking. They're continuing this sort of refusing of each other's help.
Okay. I think not only does this movie have bad history, I think it also has a little bad geography, because Anna's like, hey, how did you come in here? And they're like, we came by sea, which, okay, we saw that. And she's like, what, the Adriatic? I think there's only like one or two seas they could have come by. I don't think they have many options with the amount of seas they could come by. Let me know if I'm wrong.
But yeah, so they're arguing. She's suiting up. She's like, kind of gearing up for a fight. And he's like, no, we got to wait until morning. We can't go out now. Mm-hmm. We got to wait until Dracula is vulnerable. She's kind of like, no, we got to do this now. And then he just like sprays her with knockout gas, and she just like collapses to the floor.
Right. Doesn't even give her a chance. Just knocks her out. KO.
And then rather than like continuing with him, we just cut to like her waking up later, and she's alone. It's like dark at this point. She's like looking around the castle trying to find him.
Right. Damn it, Van Helsing.
Yeah. And then she hears some noise in the armory.
Yeah. And hell of an armory, by the way. They've got like 30 different types of every weapon.
Oh yeah, it's massive. Like, it's basically a library, except instead of books, it's just like crossbows and maces and battle axes and
halberds.
Shit.
Yeah. And of course she has a lantern, but she also grabs like a mace.
Mm-hmm. But so it turns out the noise is just like a window has come loose and is just like rattling with the wind. So she fastens the latch back and is like, oh, okay, everything's fine.
Yeah, it's really weird that, like, this latch just came undone. It's like maybe something tried to get in, but nah, it couldn't have been, until we see wet footprints.
Very large wolf-like footprints.
Exactly. At that point, we also get the view of the monster, like what the monster is seeing, the werewolf is seeing.
Yeah, and she's kind of being chased, and then, she kind of runs, and then it's like one of these things where she's like, is up against like a column, and then like around the other side comes Velkin. He's like, I know Dracula's secret. I know what's going on. Like, let me tell you everything. But then suddenly the clouds roll away from the full moon, and he starts turning into a werewolf. So the wolf chasing her was him. So clearly when he went off the cliff with that werewolf, he got scratched or bitten in the process, and now he is one himself.
Yep. Well, they don't have too much longer to consider that, because Van Helsing just rushes in trying to kill the werewolf.
Yeah, the werewolf rushes away. Van Helsing chases him out into this foggy night. The gravedigger guy shows up again and is kind of like ominously threatening Van Helsing for no real reason.
Yeah, he's just he's chilling in a coffin for no reason. He's doing a lot of things for no reason.
So Van Helsing turns away and he tries to hit him with a shovel.
Well, it's like they have the conversation, it's a little late to dig graves, isn't it? And the gravedigger's like, late to dig graves? It's never too late! And then, he tries to brain Van Helsing.
Yeah, and Van Helsing stops him, of course, and then he's like, oh, sorry, it's just my nature. I have to...
I just have to try to kill you.
I'm so obsessed with digging graves that if there aren't any corpses around, I'm just going to make some, because I gotta dig more graves.
Honestly, if they had fleshed that out and kept that going for a little bit longer, I would have been here for it.
Yeah. So instead, the werewolf appears, jumps at them. Van Helsing gets out of the way, but the gravedigger is hit and presumably killed, falls motionless into a newly dug grave.
Right. Well, we have to know he's dead because his shovel's stuck in the dirt and his hat just falls on top of it and just comically rolls on top of the shovel handle. So yeah.
At this point, Anna shows up, which is weird. I don't know why it took her so long to follow after Van Helsing, considering she knows that's her brother and that Van Helsing is a monster killer. At this point, she does, she tries to stop him. She's like, wait, you can't kill him. And he's like, that's not your brother anymore. And she's like, wait, you knew it was my brother and you still chased after him and have been trying to kill him this whole time?
The whole time.
Yeah, and he's like, that's my job. That's what I do. He's dangerous. He's not your brother. He's going to kill people. He has to be put down.
Right. And this is kind of mirrored later on with another character, which is interesting.
Yeah, that's true. And his response there is really,
it's
that
literally flipped on its head here. Interesting. Yeah. Do you think they intended for that? Or do you think that was a happy accident?
Yeah, it's weird because this movie, it does, it's like a dumb action, shoot 'em up kind of movie in a lot of ways, but every now and then there are moments of lore that feel like somebody there cared what they were doing, in terms of story.
Right.
And it might be that, there's one writer working in spite of everyone else to inject little bits of that. I'm not sure, but yeah, it does feel like that sort of theme of monstrousness and who deserves to live and who doesn't it is intentionally in there.
But apparently, also they have the idea that maybe Dracula has a cure for lycanthropy.
Yeah, Anna has heard rumors, and she's like, maybe we can save him. He's my only family.
Right. Makes sense. At least they can now have two of the family one more time.
Yeah, and Van Helsing does have a moment of realization here as well, where he's like, maybe having memories of loss is worse than having no memories at all. Right. So maybe my amnesia is a good thing in a way.
Yeah, maybe a gift. Who knows?
So then we cut back to Dracula at the lab. He's got all his henchmen. This is, I think, when he finally calls them the dodgy. And he's trying to create a new creature. Right. So we just have them working a little bit. They're kind of spooling up all of the science gear.
Right.
And then we jump right back to Van Helsing and Anna, who are now looking for, the werewolf / her brother. And end up finding Castle Frankenstein, and they're like, there shouldn't be lights on in there. The guy who lived there last year
ago.
Yeah. So they're like, okay, something's going on here. This might all kind of tie together.
I do think it's interesting that they bring it back that, hey, Frankenstein disappeared when my dad did.
Yeah. The situation with her dad doesn't ever really...
It's literally pointless. They could have just said the guy died 5-10 years ago. And we would be in the exact same boat.
Yeah, it never really comes to any fruition.
I mean, there is a shock later, but it's not much of one at all.
Yeah. So yeah, inside the castle we've got Dracula, and he's talking to Velkin, who has turned human again. He shows Velkin their father, who is a burned up corpse.
Right, and that's it. That's the payoff. We burned him up a year ago.
Yeah, so the deal is... Dracula is trying to use the energy of a living being in his experiments. He's hoping that Velkin, being, having werewolf blood, that he'll be a better battery than his father was.
Right, exactly. And also, the transformation from Velkin to, from werewolf to human in this scene is bad. It's the first time I've ever seen CGI that looked like it was a guy in a suit. Do you get what I mean, though?
Yeah.
Like, and it literally looks like he's almost taking off the suit as the werewolf is transforming, ripping its skin off to become human and all that. And it's like, oof, that was rough, man.
Yeah. So yeah, Dracula ends up kind of like strapping Velkin down onto a slab and is raising him up into the ceiling.
Yeah, and Velkin's like, I'd rather die than help you. And I do like the line that Dracula gives, don't be boring. Everyone who says that dies.
Yeah. And so then we've got Van Helsing and Anna. They've come into the castle, and inside they find all of these like pods hanging everywhere, like hundreds and hundreds of them.
Right, and we also get the Dwergi walking by, and they basically speak like Daleks from Doctor Who, just in a weird tongue. Like, I don't know what language they're actually speaking, but it's nothing I know. But apparently Anna speaks that language because she can immediately tell they're talking about her brother being an experiment.
Yeah.
Okay.
So all these pods are Dracula's children, but because they're dead, their babies are born dead.
Right.
And so that's the whole thing. Dracula is trying to give life to, resurrect or give the first life or whatever to all of these dead babies using human. So obviously, at this point we can kind of deduce that was the whole plan to begin with is, if Victor had created this electrical being, that maybe that would have been the perfect battery, but that obviously didn't work out. And so now he's trying poor substitutes to try to revive his offspring.
Also, it raises a very interesting question about vampire physiology, right? Then the fact that apparently when they copulate, they create eggs. Or is it like the eggs are kind of fertilized, but not totally, and this is kind of a weird incubation stage?
Yeah, it's very confusing, because, so obviously Dracula made the brides by the normal method of, biting humans and turning them into vampires. But then, I guess, and we'll pretty much, I think the next scene is, so they start up the equipment and drain Velkin and send his life force into the pods.
As Van Helsing is tearing into one and trying to see what they're up against, as he says.
Yeah. And so a bunch of these pods pop open, and out fly these weird little, demons, baby bat things.
They're like imps or maybe gargoyles to a degree.
So the thing is, but so Dracula and the brides also turn into demonic-looking things like this, so it's unclear, would those things turn into little human toddlers?
Right.
It's we never get to see.
There's a lot of questions being asked and none of them are answered.
So this swarm of these bat babies go flying everywhere.
Right, because
Dracula's
teach them how to feed.
Yeah. So the two surviving brides go flying out with them. And Van Helsing, pulls out his crossbow machine gun thing and just starts blasting babies.
Hold up here. You say that, but that's a shotgun. He's just firing some, ye olde shotgun. It's a pump-action shotgun.
That's right, yeah. It's not the crossbow.
Right. Where the hell did he get this thing?
Right. And, obviously Dracula senses that his babies are being killed. So he's not happy about that. So he shows up, and it's there's going to be a showdown there between Van Helsing and Dracula, but then it cuts away to the lab where Igor is kind of trying to keep things going. So he's flipping switches and keeping the electricity, but it looks like Velkin's going to run out of juice.
Yeah, werewolves aren't good conductors.
So Anna's kind of trying, she's clearly going to try to rescue Velkin, but then we cut to the village, where it is now being swarmed by bat babies, and the moms flying around. They're starting to pick up people and drop they're not super strong, but they're clearly starting the feeding process down there.
Then we quickly cut to Van Helsing just jumping out of nowhere and staking Dracula, and immediately Dracula's like, Gabriel? Van Helsing's like, Resquiate in pace.
Then we cut back to Anna, who is getting attacked by Dwergi as she's trying to cut Velkin loose.
Right. Well, she even knocks one Dwergi off, and I literally wrote, he gets Titanicked, because you know what I'm talking about. He falls down and half lands on the vat below him, and then bounces off, and he makes the metallic ding.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So like this whole section here, it's a lot of, there's like the three different sort of stories going on, but like it's a lot of quick cuts. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think ultimately Anna gets him out and he starts turning into a werewolf again. Meanwhile, Dracula is like, I haven't seen you for 300 or 400 years. We have a long history.
Right, yeah.
Which is obviously that's like the catnip for Van Helsing, where he's like, oh, there, you know something about me? Like, that's the one thing that's going to get me to stop trying to kill you for a second.
Well, Van Helsing even asks him, how do you know me? I mean, personally, I was like, it could be Satan.
Yeah. And Dracula's like, I'll tell you your history later. Yeah. For right now, let's talk about my history. I was born in 1422 and then murdered in 1462.
Right, by the right hand of God.
Yeah.
Or the left hand of God? Left hand of God, I'm sorry.
Yeah, left hand. And then down in the village, suddenly the babies just start popping.
Right.
I guess it's because Velkin is out of the machine, so he's not giving them juice anymore. But it kind of seems like it's more that he just didn't even have enough to give. Like, that it was going to happen anyway.
Yeah, this was kind of a foregone conclusion, right?
Yeah. And obviously the brides are upset again. Dracula hears their cries. While Dracula's kind of distracted by that, Van Helsing manages to get away, grabs Anna, and they kind of escape on a grappling hook.
Right. By the way, that's a hell of a rope for that distance that they cover, you know?
Yeah. I mean, the swinging kind of stuff that they do in this movie is like, the G-forces would just absolutely fuck you up. Or like you said, the rope wouldn't even survive. But
well, yeah, I mean, they shoot it from the top of the castle to a mountainside that's like 400 yards away. What the hell kind of grappling hook is this?
Yeah. Somehow in the process, Velkin as a wolf like falls in the river. Mm-hmm. So it seems like maybe he's gone. But then, obviously we'll get to more with that later. But in town, we've got this woman who's very grateful to Carl. He saved her in the process of everything. And we get this, the classic bit where she's like, how can I repay you? And he whispers something in her ear and she's like, but you're a monk. You can't do that. And he's like, actually, I'm just a friar.
Yeah, that's right. And of course, they're both excited about that one.
Yeah, she's into it. Like it's not like he's coercing her or anything. She's like, oh, okay, cool. That's perfect.
Yeah, he nailed her kink right on the head.
So then we get a little bit with Dracula kind of ranting that his plan failed again. He's going to kill everybody. We get Anna and Van Helsing again, and Anna's like, you tried to use a stake? Like, he's Dracula. You think we haven't tried that? Like,
yeah, we tried staking, crucifixes. We've tried the whole 9 yards. None of it works.
Yeah, Dracula is above and beyond the standard vampire. Mm-hmm. You can't just use the basic methods. We got to do something better.
Right.
They're kind of arguing, but they're also kind of flirting pretty hard throughout this whole scene.
Well, I mean, he even puts his hat on her head as they go to take a sip of booze. I do like how at that point she's like, "Hey, whatever you do, don't let this touch your tongue, or it'll knock you on your." And then the ground falls out beneath them.
Yeah, and they just kind of collapse into some kind of abandoned mine shaft or something. Mm-hmm. Later on at the base, Carl wakes up. He's next to the lady. As he's like kind of stumbling around, he bumps into a wall sconce that causes this like piece of art to reveal itself.
And you know what else we get? We get the Wolfman poem.
Oh, right. Yeah. So there's like an inscription on the art, and it's the traditional poem, but there's like a little addendum. So it's like, even a man who's pure in heart and says his prayers by night may become a wolf when the wolfbane blooms and the moon is shining bright. Mm-hmm. But then it says, or crave another's blood when the sun goes down and his body takes to flight.
Right, which it's like, okay, yeah, I appreciate you trying to put your spin on that, but you could have just left it alone. It was fine.
Yeah, it's clunky with the addition, but the addition makes sense in that we're going to see, when he reads it out loud, right. The art animates, it shows two knights fighting, but suddenly the knights turn into a werewolf and a demon vampire, and they start fighting each other. Yeah. So we had to get some vampire shit into the poem to make it all make sense.
And weirdly enough, that fight comes back later, which is really wild.
Yeah, I mean, it seems strange that, like, Carl is supposed to be the knowledge base in this movie.
Right.
I mean, pretty much as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, okay, so, like, the only thing that can kill a Dracula is a werewolf.
Right.
We've had all these werewolves around. Clearly that's what we're dancing around, but it takes them way too long before they think of that.
Right. They're not the brightest.
We cut from there to the bottom of the mine shaft, and it's, Van Helsing and Anna, they're all covered in rubble. Van Helsing is like, there's something else down here that's big and carnivorous.
It has
humanoid.
Has a limp. And copper teeth.
Yeah. And Anna's like, wait, how do you know it has copper teeth?
Because he's right behind you.
Yeah, it's such a dumb joke that's used so much, but it works almost every time on me.
Yep.
Yeah, and so, obviously Van Helsing attacks this thing, and then we find that it's the Frankenstein monster.
Yeah. I do like how he slams the monster's head against the wall, and, his head pops open, like one of those creepy crawler Ghostbuster toys from back in the day.
Yeah, it's like half falls open diagonally across, and you see skull underneath. It's a pretty cool effect.
Well, you get brains too. That's the one really good CGI in this movie.
Frankenstein in general, as we'll see more of him, he's got a lot of cool stuff going on, and they did a pretty good job with he's got his heart's exposed and it's kind of sparking, and there's across the back of his head you can see lightning sparking in his brain.
Yeah, he's got a green panel on the back of his head.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically what they said was, let's make the best live action toy we can. And that's what Frankenstein was.
Yeah, pretty much. But he takes umbrage at being called the Frankenstein monster. He's like, who's a monster here? I've not done anything wrong. You just started attacking me. I'm down here in the bottom of a mine shaft, leaving everyone alone.
Right.
Van Helsing's like, what do you want? And he's like, I just want to exist.
Yeah, I just want to live. That's it.
So Van Helsing just hits him with a trank dart. And then as he's kind of passing out, he says, you should kill me. I'm the key to my father's machine.
Right.
You get a lot of exposition from him. He's like, all those babies that died last night.
One bride, one birthing. So anytime these brides go through a clutch of eggs, there's thousands of them.
Yeah.
And that was from one.
Yeah, and he's like, there are thousands more somewhere, and with the power from me, they would live forever.
And of course, Anna's like, nope, we got to kill him.
Yeah. She's like, all right, yeah, he said so, let's do it. And Van Helsing's like, no, I can't. I only kill evil. And he may have been created by someone evil, but it does not rule him. He's not evil, and so that's outside of my jurisdiction, basically.
Right. So is he a hypocrite or not? Is the question. I guess not, because technically the brother is controlled by the evil, but there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the thing, but yeah, it seems like he should be able to find more room for nuance.
Also, we know there's an antidote.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it doesn't matter now, because the brother in werewolf form has seen this, and he's going to tell his boss.
Right. Van Helsing is like, we need to take him to Rome with us. Maybe he can help in some way. Obviously the creature's like, I'm a sentient being. I'm not just to be dragged around wherever you want. Let me go. If you're not, if you're not going to kill me, I'm not just going with you. Van Helsing's like, nope, you're coming. We're going to Rome, road trip.
Right.
And he's like, I think you've condemned us all.
Right. And we get a little bit of a carriage chase, but not really, because it's just the carriage going fast across the countryside. Nothing's chasing them yet.
So yeah, we have Van Helsing sort of riding this carriage, action scientist kind of way, and we get brides swooping down, and there's this whole thing with they grab Van Helsing, he manages to get free, but then it turns out the carriage is headed towards a bridge that's out. The horses jump and manage to make it over to the other side.
They just jump. Well, I mean, also there's the scene where Van Helsing almost gets a vasectomy the hard way with the wagon wheel. Yeah,
he gets thrown underneath, and he's hanging onto the horses, and he's laying on the yolks at one point. There's a lot going on here. So the end result is that the horses jump the bridge, the carriage falls, it doesn't make it, and the brides are like, we have to get the creature. That's the whole way we're going to say. So they fly down, and they're trying to catch the carriage before it crashes.
Well, surprise, that was the decoy carriage.
Right. So Van Helsing manages to get over to the right carriage, and they get away in the process, basically.
Well, not before. Then they ignite the shrapnel bomb that Van Helsing left in the carriage.
Yeah, it's basically a stake IED. It
right?
Kills another one of the brides. One does still get away, but one has just been riddled with stakes, basically. So Van Helsing gets to the other carriage that Anna is driving, but then Velkin shows up as the werewolf and attacks them.
So did I miss something here? Because it's he literally just jumps skids across the top of the carriage, but somehow also catches it on fire.
Yeah, I don't know where that fire came from.
Right? Okay. I mean, cool.
But yeah, the whole roof of the carriage is on fire instantly. Van Helsing and Anna both get knocked to either side of the carriage. They're hanging onto the sides.
The monster's like, hey, you got to unshackle me so I can save this guy. Carl's like, nah, I don't think... I mean, will you kill me if you do? And the monster's like, I'll kill you if you don't hurry up and do it.
It ends up like Velkin attacks and they manage to all jump to safety while Van Helsing is like firing in slow motion.
Right. He does the bullet time jump with his 6-shooters. His pistols.
Yeah. Basically fills him with silver. So then Anna talks to her brother as he's dying, says goodbye to him. He never reveals the secret that he knows of Dracula. I guess we already know at this point it's the babies and stuff, but Velkin never shares that information.
He never passes along what can be done to stop it.
Anna is obviously very upset that Van Helsing killed her brother. And he's like, now you know why there's wanted posters of me everywhere. This is the deal. This is why everyone sees me as a murderer.
Right.
But we also reveal that he was bitten by the werewolf in the fight. So,
dun, dun.
uh-oh.
Yep. We got another werewolf on our hands, folks.
Yeah, which it's, there's that nice irony there where, like, he has just killed this person who possibly could have been cured, and then now he's, taking on that.
Right.
That
beware
curse.
when you hunt monsters, lest you become one.
Yeah.
Also, interesting note. I was thinking about this, and I'm like, this kind of reminds me of Father Gascoigne from Bloodborne.
Huh, okay.
Did you ever play Bloodborne?
I haven't played it. I've seen, like, bits of it.
Okay.
But I've seen other people play.
The guy I'm talking about is, he looks he's dressed up an awful lot like Van Helsing, but he becomes a wolf, basically a werewolf monster, because he's hunted down so many beasts and killed them. He's become the beast now, that kind of thing. Yeah. So I'm like, I wonder if they were watching this and got some inspiration. I mean, they didn't make Bloodborne until 10 years later after that? So
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm reaching.
But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a similar story arc for sure.
But of course, we don't have too much time to consider that because the other bride comes out of nowhere, basically slaps Anna and just drags her away.
Yeah, Van Helsing just is unable to do anything. Like, he can't catch her. So then we cut to, like, them being in town. We got Van Helsing and the creature and Carl. The bride just appears, the last bride, and is like, okay, Dracula proposes a trade. We'll give you Anna back for him.
Yeah, for the monster.
Yeah, and Van Helsing is like, okay, we'll consider that, but it's got to be somewhere public. Obviously, we're not going to, like, meet you somewhere where we can just be killed instantly.
Well, the bride has a great idea. Because tomorrow's Halloween. Today's October 30th.
Yeah, so there's going to be a big carnival tomorrow. There'll be lots of people there. And, monsters will look fine because it's a masquerade thing. So it'll be fine. So she leaves. And then the creature sees that Van Helsing's been bitten. And he, like, the creature is kind of like... His relationship with Van Helsing is interesting because he's like... He's not a bad character, but, like, he also is kind of like, fuck you, Van Helsing. Like, he's not putting up... And he's like... I hope you're hunted as passionately as you hunted others.
Right, which is odd because Van Helsing was like, no, don't kill this one.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, there's a lot of tension there in this relationship.
Right. And, of course, it looks like Van Helsing's going to stake himself, but instead he actually blow darts the monster.
Cut to, like, him, he's, like, locking the monster up in a church in a cemetery, and he bars the door with a big cross.
I mean, here's my question. If Van Helsing could lift the cross, what the hell does he think that's going to do with the monster who's clearly more powerful than he is?
Yeah, and I'm not, like, they're planning a trade. It's strange that, like, he's locking up the creature in the first place.
Right.
I mean, if he's trying to keep Dracula out, but, like, I thought the whole point was they were giving the creature to Dracula.
Yeah.
So, that whole bit here does not really make much sense, and it doesn't really come to anything either. Right. So, I don't know what's...
It really doesn't. It really does the exact opposite of what they intended to do. But we do get the note that, hey, Van Helsing, you literally have 48 hours or then you're going to become a werewolf forever and we'll have to kill you. Yeah,
so that, like, the lore here is that you remain human until your first full moon when you first transform into a werewolf, and at that point you're werewolf forever.
Yeah. Well, as they're leaving the cemetery, they remark, only the dead could help the monster escape. And immediately we get a pan down to a sarcophagus that opens up, revealing a hand. So
yeah. So then we cut to the celebration, and it's like in this huge grand ballroom. It's this big, it's like very carnival, like, you know, it's a lot of like the traditional masquerade kind of masks and everything. And you got acrobats on trapezes, like up in the ceiling. And I mean, it's very
fire
grand.
breathers, people like one guy on a violin rolling on a ball.
Yeah. And then we see that Dracula is dancing with Anna, and she's like sort of glamored. It's like she can talk to him and is like telling him how much she hates him and everything, but she has to dance.
Right.
It's like he's controlling her physically. Yeah, it's kind of strange. So we get this whole deal where like Van Helsing is up in like a balcony, and he's like, I got a plan. Carl's like, I'm nervous about that. Like, your plans seem to get weird. Like, I don't. It ends up that Van Helsing ends up getting one of the acrobats off of a trapeze and gets on there himself.
Right.
Meanwhile, Carl bumps into a fire breather who like breathes fire on Dracula.
Right, and that's when Van Helsing basically flies in and gets Anna from behind. Or not.
Yeah,
that's the wrong way to put it. Anyway, he swings by and picks Anna up. How about that? That's probably better.
Yeah, he like swings that, you know, rescues her, you know, kind of Indiana Jones style, basically.
Right.
Then Dracula reveals at this point that all these people at the party are vampires.
Surprise, dirtbags, we're all vampires, even the little kids up in the rafters.
Igor comes bursting in. He's got the creature tied up.
Right. For some reason, the creature is reciting Psalms 23:4. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay. I mean, cool.
Yeah, and he's pissed. Like, he's like, I'm going to get you. Like, I'll get revenge for this, you know, curses on you. Dracula speaks to all his guests, and he's like, that guy up there, that's Van Helsing.
Kill him.
So they all kind of, like, get the elongated mouths and the fangs and, like, you know, start chasing after him.
Hey, but I've got good news. As everyone's escaping, Carl has finally figured out what the sun grenade is used for.
Yeah. So he sets it off as Van Helsing and Anna and him all jump out the window.
Really bad CG. Like, they turn to dust, but it's rough.
Yeah, so that vaporizes all of the vampires.
Except for Dracula, of course.
Yeah, of course. They end up, like, in, like, a river or creek of some kind, and they see Igor and several of the dwergi in like a rowboat, and they've got Frankenstein tied up in there. The heroes are kind of headed towards to, you know, rescue the creature, but instead a gate comes down and blocks them.
Oh, drats.
Van Helsing is like, he swears like he's gonna save the creature no matter what it takes.
Right, and Carl's like, well, maybe not. Maybe we don't.
Yeah, he's like, actually, I got word from Rome that you're supposed to destroy him. And Van Helsing's like, no, that's not my job. Like, that's not what I'm gonna do. And also, you know, now that I think about it, I didn't have this realization earlier, but now that it's about me, what happens to me? Are you gonna have to kill me?
Right, and then he like hits the gate really, really fucking hard and like throws himself. So clearly he's getting werewolf strength.
Yeah, but he kind of calms down and before he like fully turns into a werewolf. Then we just kind of cut to the trio of heroes arriving back at Frankenstein's lab. It's now been gutted. Like, since they were discovered, Dracula's taking his toys and going elsewhere, basically.
Yeah, it turns out this is where we get another exposition dump.
Yeah. And it's like, oh shit. So we got 2 hours. We have to find Dracula's lair. And, you know, Anna's family's been looking for it for years. We've not been able to find it. But as soon as it gets dark tonight, he's going to revive all the bat babies.
Oh, no. Well, also, they find out some parchment that says Dracula was the son of Valerius the Elder.
Yeah, that's why he had to make this dedication to his family line or whatever.
Yeah. And
also, there's this map that Anna's like, my father agonized over this map for years trying to find Dracula's lair and never could find it. Carl's like, well, let me take a look and read the Latin.
Hey, there's a weird notch in that map, by the way.
Yeah, there's part missing. And then, you know, that's, of course, the piece that Van Helsing had in that scroll earlier. So he puts it there.
They speak friend and enter.
Yeah, so this is I feel like this part got on my nerves more than anything else. So, like, Anna's dad stood in front of this map for years and years trying to find a way, and all it takes is Van Helsing says, in the name of God, open this door.
Right.
And suddenly the map turns into a door, like this mirror door that they're able to pass through.
I'll be real with you. I feel like in a moment of desperation, he probably would have said that himself.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Like, no one was just like, and then, God's name, I was like, yeah, that sounds like something you would just say nowadays, not even like as a monster hunter who is like working for God, you know?
Maybe they needed that one piece of the scroll. Maybe that was the magic that was keeping it there. I don't know. I don't want to make excuses for this. It's bad reasoning.
Yeah. But it ends up so, like, you know, it turns into this mirror, and they're like, well, Dracula's invisible in mirrors, so maybe he just doesn't even think of it as a mirror. And then, like, Van Helsing puts his hand against it, and it goes straight through.
By the way,
and
you know what that suggests? That suggests that Dracula has come and gone through that fucking mirror, like, multiple times.
Which we will quickly learn is not the case.
Right, that's fair. But it's like, wait a second, so you're telling me he couldn't possibly just kill his family members?
Right, that's true, yeah. If he can get into this castle.
Right. But, of course, we do, as you said, we will learn that. It really is a one-way trip.
Yeah. Yeah, so, like, I think, Van Helsing at first is like, oh, it's cold on the other side of this. And so he passes through, and, Anna follows, and then Carl follows as well. And then then we see that there's, this massive Dracula castle. It's super spooky.
Well, Castle Dracula, specifically.
Yeah, and Carl's like, nah, no, fuck that.
Right.
And so he turns around and is going to leave, but nope, like you said, it's a one-way mirror. He cannot go back. Mm-hmm. Then we see, like, they can't get through because there's a big gate.
Right.
So Van Helsing just grabs Anna and Carl like they weigh nothing and just jumps over the gate.
Because werewolf powers.
Yeah. Which seemed very similar. I was thinking about Monster High.
Right.
Because Claudine does the exact same thing, leaping over the fence.
It's known that werewolves just have, like, amazing jumping ability.
Yeah.
I mean, wolves don't really, but, whatever. We'll take it.
So they get inside the castle, and it is, like, just chock full of baby pods. Mm-hmm. Like, they're just everywhere. And then they just kind of, like, happen to bump into Igor. He's just kind of, like, wandering around.
Right, well, he's like, do this, Igor, do that. It's like, man, you're a henchman. You're literally the henchman.
Yeah.
So.
And so Van Helsing stops him, and Igor's like, wait, don't kill me. And Van Helsing's like, why not? And then Igor thinks about it, and he's like,
that's a good point.
I can't really think of a good reason.
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah. So then they hear, like, Dracula screeching off in the distance. Mm-hmm. They, like, kind of rush over, and they see there's, like, a central kind of, like, tube part to this building that is, like, open. And they're, like, raising the Frankenstein monster up to the ceiling.
In, like, a weird block of ice.
Yeah. Van Helsing is trying to, like, bend these metal bars to get to him, and he can bend them, but not enough to get through. Right.
That's when the monster sees him, and he's like, hey, Dracula absolutely has a cure.
Yeah, and he's like, you need to find it and save yourself right away. Mm-hmm. Then keeps going, and then Van Helsing's like, wait a minute, why does Dracula have a cure?
Right. That's weird, right?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like something he would want. Then suddenly Carl puts all the pieces together, and he's like, oh, okay, wait a minute. So from that other painting that I saw that you guys didn't, werewolves can kill Dracula.
Yeah, that's it.
So he has the cure because he doesn't want to have werewolves around him because they could kill him.
But he's had several werewolves around him.
Yeah, and they just kind of, like, brush that aside, like, well, yeah, but those were dumb werewolves that he was able to control, and if they had ever gotten any kind of, like, backbone and tried to stand up to him, then he would have cured them right away.
That's really an insult of Elkin. It's like, he's a wimp. There's one guy who fought werewolves and died fighting one. He's got no spine.
They come up with this whole elaborate plan. Carla and Anna are going to go find the cure while Van Helsing goes to try to fight Dracula. Mm-hmm. And Igor's going to show them where the cure is. He's like, well, why would I do that? And Van Helsing has a very specific weapon, which is like a finger chopper offer, basically.
Yeah, well, Anna decides it's used for a bris. So.
Yeah, he's like, if he doesn't cooperate, chop off a finger. And she's like, I'll chop off something.
Right.
Yeah, so the idea is, at the stroke of midnight, Van Helsing will start turning into a werewolf. He will kill Dracula, and then by the 12th stroke of midnight, Anna and Carl will arrive with the cure and cure him. Mm-hmm. So they've got a very tight window of time to accomplish all of this.
It could only happen in a badly written movie.
And then we get the most, like, classic, like, bad action romance scene where like Van Helsing and Anna say goodbye like 8 times, or it's like they say bye and then they start to move away and they're like, wait, but just one more thing, you know, and they like keep sort of and it's clearly just like, just kiss already so we can get on with the movie. And then finally they do kiss and head in their separate directions.
Aw, that was nice.
Upstairs, we've got Dracula watching like the progress of everything. Frankenstein is pissed about this. He's like, you know, like he's not happy about being used as a battery to raise all these bat creatures, you know. And but Dracula's like, this is your purpose. This is why I commissioned you being created, basically. So deal with it.
You were my personally bespoke monster.
Yeah. So he, you know, is lifted through the roof hole, and there's, you know, lightning storm outside and everything.
Which this is pretty cool, because normally you see the lift come down. It's interesting to see it come up to be used, or to go up being used like that.
Yeah, and it's interesting, you know, usually we see, like the creature is going up dead and coming down alive, but in this case, he's already alive and he's going up for some other purpose.
Yeah, presumably going up to die and then come back down.
Yeah, it's an interesting sort of like subversion of, and you know, it's kind of a nice bookend too, because the beginning of the movie was him going up to be revived. Of
course, we also have Igor leading Carl and Anna to this suspiciously like open and glass encased cure, just a vial with a needle. That's it.
Yeah, it's just like a big open room. In the very center, there's like a pedestal with this like single red syringe in there.
Yep.
And so
could be taken right out of a video game.
Yeah. And it's one of the, like they step inside and instantly Igor slams a gate down and they're trapped inside.
Ah, damn it. Curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal.
Right. So they kind of start discussing like, okay, well, since we're in here, we might as well, you know, get the syringe.
Right.
Carl's like, that viscous fluid is concerning me.
Right. I don't
really want to put my hand in there.
Right.
But then the last bride appears and like attacks, and like Anna kind of slings the glass case at her. Mm-hmm. It bursts open and it turns out that viscous liquid is acid.
Splashes all over the bride and a little bit on the grate.
Yeah. So then part of the globe is like laying still kind of like a bowl basically, and it's still full of acid. Yeah. So like Anna manages to eat away the bars so that they can escape. So it's like she gives Carl the antidote and is like, run, hurry, get to Van Helsing. I'll take care of her.
Right. She's going to fight the bride off with a torch.
And she instantly just like blows the torch out like it's nothing.
Well, not only that, the bride just goes around the room blowing all the light sources out.
Yeah. Yeah, so fire is definitely not going to help here. Mm-mm. Carl ends up on like this big bridge and runs into Igor.
Well, on the bridge, there's like a whole bunch of lightning strikes, right? So my immediate reaction was like, oh, he has to avoid 100 of those to get the ultimate weapon. Anyway, that's a...
My thought with this scene was this is like a sidekick fight.
Right, yeah, in fact, it really is. Because Igor comes in with his werewolf prod.
Yeah. So then we cut back to Van Helsing. He's trying to rescue the Frankenstein monster, and the creature's like, you should be finding the cure. What are you doing? And he's like, oh, my friends are on that. And he's like, friends? Mm-hmm. And he's like, yeah, you want one? Right. Which is kind of nice. Like Van Helsing's like, I'm your friend. Like, I'm here to help you. Yeah. Like, we're going to get through this together.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah, and so Van Helsing does, he like starts to try to unstrap him, and then we realize that he's not just like tied down, he's bolted.
Yeah, rips the bolts right out of his chest.
Yeah, he's like, this is gonna hurt, and he's like, look at me, like I am used to pain, it's fine. So yeah, he rips the bolts out, and the creature's starting to kind of come loose, but then Demon Dracula kind of flies in, knocks Van Helsing away. So as this is going on, like lightning keeps striking, like more lightning is passing into the baby pods.
Yeah, one more bolt and all my babies will be alive.
Yeah, so like Frankenstein, or like the creature is trying to break free. He's like still chained up. His foot is chained to the mechanism still. Finally, Frankenstein does break free, falls off of like this tall roof that he's on, and manages to like grab onto like an electrical cable, because there's like cables running everywhere to kind of connect to all these baby pods basically. So he's like swinging around. He manages to like swoop down and like knock Igor off the bridge.
Right.
So he knocks Igor off, and then he gets like kind of stuck where he's like hanging down, and like it looks like he's gonna fall, and like calls up to Carl, like, help me. And then Carl kind of has his own moment of, like, having to come to sort of, like, a moral reckoning about what he does, you know, and he's like, you're supposed to die.
Right.
And the creature's like, but I want to live.
Well, that's good enough for Carl.
Yeah. Carl kind of, like, finally realizes, like, this thing has, like, agency and wants to be alive and you know, deserves that chance. Mm-hmm. So he manages to, like, you know, again, the logistics here are a little hazy or whatever, but he's able to cut the wire in a certain place, which allows the creature to swing free again. So then the creature manages to, like, swing through a window, stopping Anna and the bride's fight, which... Right. I would have sworn that Anna and the bride were at a higher level than the bridge.
I feel like they were.
So I don't know, maybe he swings up. I can't remember exactly how it plays out.
It really feels like he just went from the bridge to a lower level. He definitely didn't go higher.
But so he ends up kind of helping the fight there. Mm-hmm. And we kind of cut away to Dracula, who's like, you know, you're too late. My children live.
Right. So the only way to kill the children is to kill Dracula.
Yeah, which that's kind of what Van Helsing wants to do anyway. Mm-hmm. So then we hear the clock strike midnight. Perfect timing.
You know what time it is? It's time for a monster fight!
Yeah. So Van Helsing wolfs out, and Dracula's like, "Oh shit! I did not. This does not fit into the plan that I had."
But here's the thing: he's like, "Oh fuck!" But he doesn't just run away. Like literally, he could just bolt. His plans could go off in 100 years, maybe. I don't know if Van Helsing tracks him down again. But yeah, he just leaves. He could do this again later. Yeah,
and I mean, he's already, you know, all those babies are alive. Like, theoretically, they could just get away. And But, so instead, you know, he turns into his, like, demon bat form. So, yep, they're going to throw down.
Wait a second. Going back to bad geometry here, like, Anna, like, swings down, but as she's swinging, somehow she swings up from below to get Carl to toss her the antidote to get the... What the fuck is happening with this?
Yeah, she does. She escaped. Like the creature's basically like, you go help Van Helsing. I've got the bride, and she's like, thank you. And you can tell the creature's like, whoa, like
no one's ever said thank you before.
Yeah, like there's something where he's like, this is the first time someone's treated me as a human. Really, like this simple small kindness means like the world to him in this moment.
Right.
But yeah, so she swings out, and like you said, she has to swing past Carl. He throws the syringe to her, which seems like a very big gamble to make with the only werewolf cure we've got. But it pays off. She catches it and manages to get to where Van Helsing is. Oh, no, she catches it, but then the bride shows up again and knocks her down.
Yeah. And, like, knocks her right by... like one of the metal stakes, I think.
It's like they're kind of like facing off, like they're gonna fight, and then she suddenly has a stake. I think either she finds it or Carl throws it to her.
Right.
But either way, she manages. It's one of the special stakes that Carl gave Van Helsing earlier, and so she kills the last bride.
She melts away like gooey and bad CGI.
Yeah. And then back in the science lab, Van Helsing is like choking out Dracula. Right. And then suddenly they both just like turn back into human form all of a sudden.
Yeah, well, for Van Helsing, it's because clouds covered the full moon. Something like that. But like then Dracula's like, oh, okay, I'm going to tell you the rest of your story. Turns out we were good friends back in the day, and you're the one who killed me. You're the left hand of God.
And that ring you're wearing is mine. You stole it from me.
And this is the first time we see that finger is missing from Dracula's hand. Like, why wouldn't this be a bigger point? Like, this is something you telegraph early.
Yeah.
Just aside from, hey, there's a ring. Hey, there's these symbols every once in a while. Not, hey, why is Dracula missing a finger?
Yeah, it definitely feels like that could have been clued in earlier.
Right.
And Dracula's like, I know so much more. I can fill in all of your memories. But then the clouds part, the full moon comes out again, Van Helsing wolfs out, and then just starts like tearing out Dracula's throat.
Right, just bites right into him.
And as Dracula dies, all the bat babies just start popping again.
Just like zits, little baby zits.
Anna shows up. She's got the cure. Werewolf Van Helsing and Anna come running towards each other, crash into each other. Then, like, I think Carl comes in at that point and sees Van Helsing, or like sees the werewolf collapsed on top of Anna. The wolf stands up, and because Carl's like, "Oh shit, I gotta kill him." Like this is my responsibility now.
But we see the needles in Van Helsing, so he's good. He's got all the antidote coursing through his system.
Yeah, but he killed Anna.
Oh no! And we know she's dead because her eyes are open. Right. She's just laying there.
Yeah. And we get this great thing where it's like the wolf sees that and like howls in like mourning and then slowly turns into Van Helsing, who is still kind of like screaming out in agony over what he's done. Right.
Yeah. And in werewolf form, he does look very sad. So in my notes, I had to put the good doggo realizes he's been a bad doggo. Because I've seen that look on my dog's face when I get mad at her, and she's like, "Oh,
yeah." That's good.
Okay, thank you.
And so then we cut from that to basically like Van Helsing's got Anna on a pyre and sets fire to her. Like, there's no. We're not going to try to save her, but, we do have the realization that she lived past Dracula, so we accomplished the task we needed to.
That's right. And which is odd, though, because I guess if Dracula committed suicide, they would all get into heaven immediately as well.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, they just needed to outlive him.
Right, yeah, fair enough. But you know how we know she made it into heaven? Because the movie doesn't like subtlety, Anthony. It doesn't.
Yeah, the ending of this is so goofy.
Okay, so we see her face in the clouds, right? She's smiling, she's happy, she's made it to heaven. Then we see her embracing her brother and her father as they're all like Mufasa's in the clouds, right? Yeah. Okay. But then she like smiles and there's a the weirdest looking fucking CGI tear I've ever seen in my life. Like, why? Why would she be crying? Why does she give a shit? She's won. Yeah. Like, is she sad because Van Helsing's still alive? Is that a thing to be sad about?
Yeah, I don't... Yeah, Mufasa's... I've put, like, Star Wars Force Ghost, but no, Mufasa's a much better pull here. That's definitely what's going on.
Yeah, right? Like, honestly, though, this is a weird... To me, this was a weird Mandela effect, because I could have swore they were Force Ghosts at the end the first time I watched this movie.
It would have been a little less silly if it was just them like on the cliff together, right. As ghosts or something.
Versus clouds embracing. I don't know, this is a wild one.
And we do get a final shot of the creature as well, who is like rowing away on a little raft just out into the ocean. I guess presumably kind of tying into like the ending of Mary Shelley's novel, but it felt kind of like, I guess the idea is we can't keep him around because the Order wants him dead, right. So we just have to like let him off on his own. It's either we kill him or we act like we killed him and send him away, right. But it did feel kind of like an anticlimactic ending for him. Well,
apparently the writers and directors had a lot more faith in this movie, because we then get the adventurous call to action at the very end where Van Helsing and Carl ride off to more adventure, and it's like, oh, you poor sweet summer children. This movie was never going to get a sequel.
Yeah. Yeah, it is definitely like an off into the sunset. Like Van Helsing puts his hat back on, the music swells, and yeah, it's my last note is a monster hunter's work is never done.
There you go. Brilliant.
But yeah, definitely not a sequel here.
No. I mean, listen, it's fun. That's the best way. It's not good, but it's fun.
Exactly. Yeah, and sometimes that's what you want. Like, I mean, like, especially, around this time, like 2000s action movies. Oh, yeah. I was thinking about it, like, I guess the only thing we have like this anymore are like comic book movies. Right. Like, they don't just make dumb popcorn action movies that just are like mid-tier budgets that, I think it's just like streaming and stuff, like just these kind of movies don't really get made anymore.
Right. Well, also it's the early 2000s edge, right? Because everything's so dramatic and tense, and everything's more important than what it is. I'm really glad that comic book movies were like, no, we're silly and we know it.
Yeah. I guess, comic book movies are like Fast and the Furious are the only things that are kind of in this vein. Right. But yeah, both of those sort of embrace a campiness that this doesn't quite get to. And it does feel like it's fun, it's not good, it's silly. It doesn't know how silly it is, and maybe if it had a little bit more self-awareness, it would be a little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, if it had any more self-awareness, it would probably be a lot better than what it is. Maybe a little bit better writing too.
Yeah, but yeah. It's it is what it is. It's a popcorn movie for sure. And it also could stand to be a little bit shorter. It's like
2 hours,
2:10 or something.
Yeah, 2:10. Jeez, like, don't get me wrong, it's fine. I was never really like, God, I want this to be over, but also, you could have shaved off a lot. There's a lot of exposition we could have done without.
Yeah, it's not boring, but yeah, like, anytime a movie is over an hour and a half, it needs to justify being over an hour and a half as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, didn't quite get there for me, but this is what, probably the 4th or 5th time I watched this movie. So, if that tells you how I feel about it.
I think this is I don't know that I've seen this since the theaters, so I was pleasantly surprised. I will definitely watch this again. It probably isn't going to be within the next couple months, but I'll definitely check this out again someday.
You know when you should watch this? You should watch this around Halloween when you've got nothing else to do and you've seen everything else. That's out.
Yeah, it's totally like a Saturday afternoon movie where it's just like, it's like 3:00 and you just don't want to get off the couch. Right. But this is the kind of movie you throw on at that time.
Yep. Just tune on and tune out.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I think I think we've got everything covered. So, I mean, we've been through a lot of Frankensteins. Do you think we're ever going to see the end? Do you ever think we're ever going to see the last Frankenstein?
I think we will. Probably next week.
Oh, okay. Sounds good to me.
Don't have no fear. We're not ending the show. Right. Next week we are watching the movie called The Last Frankenstein. And I think there might be 2 movies with this title. The one we're watching is, it's Japanese. I believe it's from like the 90s. And I am excited about this one because I've never seen this one. I had never even heard of it until a friend of ours mentioned it.
Right.
Our friend Alex. Because of that, we will be joined next week by Alex, who is going to get to introduce us to this crazy movie that he's very excited to share with us.
I believe in Japanese it's Rasuto Frankenstein. Which, Last Frankenstein. Makes sense.
Gotcha.
Yep.
And I think it's like a sort of modern retelling, but I am going in full blind on this. I have no idea.
I'm excited. All right, Anthony, where can they find us?
Yeah, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at The Frankencast. You can email us at thefrankencast@gmail.com. You can also find us on YouTube. And, of course, you can find us at patreon.com/thefrankencast.
And as always, any interaction is good interaction. So if you just want to send us a message in some way, some form, we appreciate that just as much as if you were to donate anything to the Patreon. Even more so.
Yeah, absolutely. And even tell your friends or, rate reviews, anything that gets other people to know we're around is beneficial to this whole process, to us continuing to do it and you continuing to hear what we've got to say.
Exactly. Let's continue to make our dark influence grow.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, in that case, to be continued.
Looks like you survived another episode. The Frankencast is a production of FCR Media. It's hosted by Anthony Bowman and Eric Velasquez. Follow us on Twitter at The Frankencast or send us a letter at thefrankencast@gmail.com. Our cover art is by Amanda Keller. You can find her at Keller Illustrations on Instagram. Our theme music is by Vivek Abhishek. Thanks for listening.